Skyrim truly is one of those games that feels like it'll never die. Clearly, Bethesda are aware of this, what with the countless re-releases. How many are we on now? 7? Jesus Christ, man, we really are never getting Elder Scrolls 6, are we? All jokes aside, I think a big reason Skyrim has acquired such a massive legacy for itself and continues to this day to be played by millions is its modding scene. Whether you want to just fuck around with reskinning dragons to Thomas the Tank Engine, or begin an entirely new massive DLC-sized adventure, there is so much available to fans and all for completely free. From the inconsequential to the gargantuan in scale, there is no shortage of variety in the mods available. But in my opinion, there is one mod currently in development which tops all others. One modding project larger and more full of content than any others. More so than even the base game of Skyrim itself, believe it or not. That mod is Beyond Skyrim, and in this video I want to gush about just how freaking awesome it really is. By this point you are probably wondering, what exactly is Beyond Skyrim actually about? To put it shortly, Beyond Skyrim is in fact not one singular mod, but an umbrella term for a group of many which are currently in development. Each mod in the overall group aims to add an entirely new region of the continent of Tamriel from lore to the game, with some even letting you access areas outside of Tamriel itself. Each new area will have an entirely original soundtrack, main quest, factions, new enemies, dungeons, side quests, cities, towns, fully voiced NPCs, weapons, armor, followers, weathers, landscapes, and the list goes on. Essentially, when these mods release, each one will have the same or even a higher density of content than in the base game. Think of them as much more significant DLC packs, or even whole entire new games with how much content they have. So, just how big will the size of all these mods be when complete? For that, let's turn to our map of Skyrim and Tamriel. Here is the size of Skyrim in the base game. As we zoom out, you can see the entirety of the continent of Tamriel, as it is depicted from sources in lore and other Elder Scrolls games. Of the 9 provinces, Beyond Skyrim currently has teams working on Morrowind, Black Marsh, Elsweyr, Cyrodiil, Hammerfell and High Rock, although those two are part of one larger group called the Iliac Bay. And they also have smaller teams working on the island of Roscrea to Skyrim's north, and the frigid continent of Atmora, even further north than that. So Valenwood and Somerset are currently not being worked on. As you can see, even without those 2 provinces, the total land area covered here is many times larger than the main game, and if the content across the other regions does end up being similar in terms of density and quantity, it's truly insane how much there could be. In this video, I will go over each team and their respective region, detailing how far along they are in development and what exactly the land they are working on is like. With that all out of the way, let's get started with Cyrodiil. The team devoted to creating the heartland of the Empire, Cyrodiil, is unique for 2 reasons. Firstly, they have actually already released a portion of the province in the form of their pre-release Bruma in 2017. It's available for free, like all the projects will be, on the Nexus right now, for both consoles and PC. So if you're interested, I highly recommend it. The amount of new content in it, even for what is only a fraction of the entire province, is fantastic. Specifically, it adds in the northern Cyrodiilic county and city of the same name, Bruma. And that is the other way in which the Cyrodiil team is unique. Technically, the land they are creating is not entirely original, as they have the basis of the landmass already covered from the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which took place in the same province. That's not to say they don't have their work cut out for them, however. This is not a remake of Oblivion like Skyblivion. Everything is still brand new, with original side quests, locations, NPCs, you name it. What I think is especially impressive is that they have already completed and released a 3-hour-long original soundtrack that mixes entirely new melodies with beautiful remixes of the ones from Oblivion. Also, this is all occurring at the same time as Skyrim is set in the 4th era, so the province has obviously changed a great deal over the span of 500 years between the games. Trust me, this is not simply a rehash of Oblivion. The environments and landscapes here have also been altered in some ways to more accurately align with the lore, And of course, all the models and textures have been made from the ground up. And holy crap, from what we've seen so far, it's absolutely gorgeous. They've done a superb job at giving the province more visual variety than it had in the 4th game, with a ton of different biomes to be found across the land. You have fertile green fields and temperate forests at its centre, murky swamps to the south, Mediterranean coastlines to the west, and even an area which is like a redwood forest, my personal favourite. Cyrodiil is also the largest province, so this specific mod certainly won't be lacking in things to do or see. However, it is not the largest project, as the Iliac Bay one actually has 2 provinces as a part of it. In terms of how far the Cyrodiil team are in development though, while it's hard to say exactly, they have certainly completed a fair amount and are much further ahead than some of the newer projects like Elsweyr or Argonia. Most of the landscaping is currently in a satisfactory state, and they are now focusing primarily on populating the various cities with unique NPCs and side quests. Of course, there's still a ton of work to do, and what I've described doesn't begin to sum up how long everything must take. They have had to create hundreds of new assets, armor sets, weapons, you name it, as every team will have to do. But so far, Cyrodiil sure is looking like it may release relatively soon, earlier than some of the others at least. Next is the team working to create the alien province of Morrowind. Similarly to Cyrodiil, this land has actually already been explored before in an Elder Scrolls game. This time it is the 3rd entry in the series, which went by the same name. This game, however, only took place on the island of Vvardenfell, with the rest of the province inaccessible, whereas the Beyond Skyrim Morrowind team are instead aiming to create the entire land in all its mysterious glory. The island of Vvardenfell has undergone quite a change too, as between the times of that game and Skyrim, the gargantuan volcano known as Red Mountain erupted and completely devastated the surrounding regions, but the majority of the mainland was unaffected. Don't worry, it's not all ash. You'll be able to witness how this catastrophe affected the province as a whole and its people, and explore the remnants of the now ash-covered island. In terms of landscape and culture, Morrowind is absolutely awesome and unlike anything else. In the north, the lands and islands are coated in a fine layer of ash, and volcanic activity is a regular occurrence. Further south can be found a huge variety in biomes, including forests of giant mushrooms, salt flats, rocky canyons, and so much more. I almost forgot to mention, like Cyrodiil's Bruma pre-release, the Morrowind team currently has their own pre-release in development too, about a similar scale in terms of content. You can expect the pre-releases of specific provinces to release much earlier than the region as a whole, with them giving a taste as to what's to come. The Morrowind pre-release is called The New North, and it's set on an archipelago of islands on the Sea of Ghosts, just north of the now devastated Vvardenfell Island. You'll be able to explore the rich culture of the Dunmerry people, venturing inside their ancient and mysterious ancestral tombs to learn more about their heritage. Dwemer ruins are also incredibly common on this part of Tamriel, with Morrowind being a primary province the dwarves occupied in ancient times. Of course, acting as the backbone of your experience as you explore and battle your way through these strange lands is, just like Bruma, a sweeping and beautiful original soundtrack that mixes entirely new melodies with remixes of tracks from Morrowind and Skyrim, and it comes in at a whopping 3.5 hours long. In terms of how far the entire province of Morrowind is from release, and not just the pre-release region, it's incredibly hard to say, but it's still got a pretty long way to go. Currently, the majority of the landscaping is unfinished or placeholder, as the team is focusing on completing the New North pre-release, which will likely release at some point in the next several years, although, again, please don't take any of this with certainty. Overall though, it's definitely one of the least completed provinces in terms of how much has been finished. Still, I'm incredibly excited to see how it shapes up and have a lot of hope. The largest project by a considerable margin, Beyond Skyrim Iliac Bay will let you access not one but 2 massive and varied provinces, High Rock and Hammerfell, which are separated by a body of water called, well, the Iliac Bay. In this bay and in the surrounding oceans are also tons of beautiful tropical islands to be found, with this project therefore providing a rather Caribbean or naval-esque atmosphere that is sure to be a joy. From what we've seen so far, The mainland of these provinces doesn't look too shabby either, and there seems to be an incredibly diverse assortment of lands to venture across. From snowy mountain peaks, rolling green hills, barren moorlands and beautiful medieval-style cities in the picturesque High Rock, to vast, scorching deserts, badlands, savannas and more in the fierce land of Hammerfell. Other than in the extremely dated Daggerfall and Arena, these provinces have never actually been portrayed before in a main series Elder Scrolls game, so Beyond Skyrim will be letting players see these foreign lands for the first time. Of course, the fact that you have 2 rather than 1 province as a part of this project also means that there will be a massive variety in terms of culture. Inhabiting High Rock are the aristocratic Bretons, who have an interesting lineage due to their half-men, half-elf heritage. Whilst they may seem relatively vanilla on paper, there's certainly a ton to explore with these people, be it their strong affinity for magic or their grand and sophisticated cities. On the other hand, you have the Red Guards, fierce warriors gifted in physical strength and sword-on-sword combat. Their culture is heavily influenced by Saudi Arabia, and it's evident in their distinctive architecture. The Iliac Bay team, like Morrowind, is also currently working on their own pre-release to give players a taste of what's to come. It's called Three Kingdoms, and will include the western High Rock kingdoms of Faerun and Gehenna, each housing a city of the same name, as well as the beautiful and exotic Abetian Isles off Hammerfell's west coast. Of course, there is again a huge brand new soundtrack that is actually twice as long as Cyrodiil or Morrowind's. It comes in at an unbelievable 6 hours and will surely make exploring the never before seen lands of Hammerfell and High Rock an unforgettable experience. Unfortunately, all this amazingness that is the Iliac Bay must come at a cost, and that is, the Iliac Bay Project will likely be one of the last to release. This is completely understandable due to its ridiculously massive scale. This project alone will likely have more content than Skyrim itself, so we really shouldn't expect it anytime soon. At least we have Three Kingdoms likely coming relatively soon to tide us over for the whole package. Still, even that pre-release is likely a ways off. Beyond Skyrim Argonia, formerly Black Marsh, will take players to one of the most ancient and unexplored lands on all of Nirn, let alone Tamriel, the homeland of the Argonians, Black Marsh. This province is truly unlike any other, with it being largely covered in murky swamps and impenetrable jungles. Throughout these unfriendly landscapes there is no shortage of things to see and uncover, be they the inhabitants' ancient ruins from ages long past, or the bizarre pink beaches of the Crimson Coast. Contrary to what I said earlier, this province is actually not all swamp either. You also have beautiful bamboo forests, fields made entirely of abstract stone spires, and some more traditional mountainous areas too. Believe me, there is a lot more to Black Marsh than just swamp. Of course, another key asset of each region in the overall Beyond Skyrim project is their inhabitants and culture. In Argonia's case, you will get to explore the world and lifestyles of the Argonians like never before, divulging in their unique traditions and religions. Additionally, a key component here is that of the Hist, as without them the Argonians couldn't exist at all. These are a race of huge telepathic, sentient trees, yes, really, who provide their reptilian peoples with prophetic visions of future catastrophes if they are to consume the Hist sap. I won't get into much more detail, but I hope this brief dive into the Argonian civilization has shown you just how much opportunity for adventure and intrigue there is in this specific province. It is the oldest and most mysterious land on Tamriel, and you'll get to personally explore it. Despite how this footage and these screenshots may appear, Black Marsh is actually the newest project under the Beyond Skyrim umbrella, which is remarkable given how well development seems to be going. The landscaping work is absolutely incredible and frankly breathtaking in many areas, with this likely being the most different area to Skyrim in the entire project, and that is exactly why it's so exciting. We have to remember, however, that there is a lot more to each project than mere landscaping, and even in that regard the Argonia team has a lot of work still ahead of them. As such, we shouldn't be expecting to venture to this treacherous land just yet, but one day. The other beast-folk homeland Beyond Skyrim will give fans the opportunity to explore is Elsweyr, home of the feline Khajiit. This province may seem small on first glance, but don't let its size deceive you. Every nook and cranny in this tropical land is bursting with personality and charm. Beyond Skyrim haven't shown much of this area yet, as most is still yet to be even landscaped. The Elsweyr team seem to be focusing on their own pre-release, the Greater Rim, which will feature the grassy steppe regions of the province's north boundary, containing the cities of Cozy Riverhold and the grand capital Rimmen. In its entirety, independent of the pre-release, the homeland of the Khajiit is comprised of two primary and incredibly distinct regions. In the north are the dusty badlands and deserts of Enequina, and in the south is the beautiful Palatine, made up of verdant jungles and perfect tropical beaches. Throughout the entirety of this land, you will also find the impressive and intricate Khajiiti temples, devoted to the two moons they worship, Massa and Secunda. The reason for their reverence is due to the fact that their shifting lunar phases determine what form the Khajiit will take at birth. Because they don't all look like they did in Skyrim. No. In their exotic homeland, you will also find many different variations of the creatures, including the house cat-like Alfiq, well, really they are just house cats who can speak and perform magic, and the gargantuan, lion-like Sencherat, which are actually often ridden into battle by their more humanoid contemporaries. Their culture is fascinating and will surely be a joy to learn more about in this mod set in their homeland, but just make sure you don't let the skooma get to your head. Like Black Marsh, Elsweyr still has a ways to go in development for sure, but likely won't take as long in total as some of the larger projects, such as Iliac Bay, due to its smaller size. I for one am extremely excited to learn more about the fascinating culture and homeland of the Khajiit, with it likely being a province I am most interested in. So far, it's certainly looking promising. One of the regions smaller in scale is Roscrea. This is in fact not a Tamrielic province, but rather a small island located far to the north of Skyrim, located midway between the mainland and the continent of Atmora. Due to its size, Roscrea will have a lot less content, but it's sure to be an incredible experience nonetheless. It is a land of wild customs, strange cultures, and mysteries as old as time itself. It is a frigid and unwelcoming place too, but it holds an elusive beauty to it. Several tracks from the new soundtrack have been released so far, but keep in mind that due to the land's much smaller size, the OST will likely be proportionally much shorter in length. Even in the smallest region of this project, however, the sheer talent and effort that has been put in is undeniable, and it will likely still have a huge amount of content, probably at least equal or more than the Dragonborn DLC, which already added tons of new things. I mean, it is larger than Solstheim. So when will Roscrea come out? Again, I don't want to try and give an exact date, as all of this is subject to change, but it will probably be one of the first complete regions to release in full, due to its smaller scope than the others. Finally, we have the one project most dissimilar to all of the others, both in setting and gameplay, Atmora. This is actually more of a unique survival experience, with the player having to carefully manage their temperature, food and energy supplies, so as not to freeze up or starve in the unbelievable cold. The context is that you are a member of a group of adventurers, determined to explore the mythical continent, so it also has more of a focus on story too. Also, don't worry about the survival mechanics. The extremity of this land will be customizable for every player, ranging from the experience being rather forgiving to borderline impossible, if that's to your liking, of course. In terms of environment and climate, this land is in fact even more frigid than Skyrim. It lies incredibly far north across the Sea of Ghosts, and is actually the original homeland of the Nords, who fled from here in ancient times. As you brave the elements in this Arctic wasteland, you will find their most ancient ruins, uncovering what this civilization used to be like, and why exactly its inhabitants were driven to leave. But be careful to keep an eye out for any possible shelter, such as caves, because during the night the temperatures drop even more. It is most certainly not a place for the wary. Due to just how different Atmora is to all of the other Beyond Skyrim projects, it's very hard to approximate a release date, but they have stated that it is currently in the later stages of development. Despite the fact that this is actually a continent, there is not as much content as many of the other projects, due to the sparsity and remoteness of the land, so it shouldn't take as long as them. It will therefore likely be one of the first mods to release, but I can't say anything with certainty. I know I keep saying that for every project, so I will go into greater detail about why in the next part of this video, which is right now. It's important to understand that Beyond Skyrim is being worked on solely by a passionate group of devoted fans to the series, and they all do it for free with no monetary reward. This isn't some big budget endeavour by a company, it is simply the passion project of a large group of devoted fans. As such, the rate of development is, let's say, inconsistent. For the most part, progress is fairly slow, but I am by no means bashing the incredible work these people are doing. What they've shown so far looks incredible, and even if only one of these mods ends up releasing, it's fantastic and really commendable. We have to accept the unfortunate truth that most of these mods likely aren't releasing anytime soon, but that's okay. I truly do believe that what they are aiming to create, no matter how monumental, is possible, and I also have no doubts in their skill at making this new content. And here's the thing, anyone can apply for free to participate, so if you want to see this endeavour completed faster, you can be a part of it. They are currently looking for applicants skilled in tons of different areas, such as quest writers, 3D level designers, voice actors, composers, coders, concept artists, and more. So if any of that tickles your fancy, I'll leave a link to the official Beyond Skyrim Discord in the description of this video, where you can find out more. Everything they've shown is such high quality, and in some areas even surpasses the base game, and no matter what, they deserve praise for that. Even if these mods never release, which is very unlikely in my opinion, what they have created thus far is beautiful, and frankly, unbelievable. Personally, I'm ready to wait however long it takes. So thank you, Beyond Skyrim, for keeping love for this game and this series alive when Bethesda doesn't. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Bye.